Hey everybody, and welcome back to Investment Honey, where we talk about various crypto projects. Before we begin, just a couple of reminders. I'm not your financial advisor, and we never provide investment advice on the channel. Now, if you are somebody new, maybe you heard from a friend that this series was going on, I always recommend that you go back to the first video in the series so that you can kind of get a feeling for what's going to be discussed and so forth. For anybody else that's returning, thank you for your support and keeping up with what we're doing here in terms of exploring Dexscreener. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. You can see I've got my alerts here, so we can see that I have this set for the recently triggered, and I did make a couple of changes, this morning, actually just one big one, and that is that I hadn't been, setting any notes, for when I set these alerts, but what I was finding out, and I think it'd be just much easier, for anybody following along, is that, when we set the alerts, we can see in the window, what the market cap is, and then I tend to go ahead and, set, whatever I think, whatever I'm comfortable with as far as the under alert that I'm looking for and the over alert that I'm looking for. But oftentimes when you come back to these alerts, you don't know what market cap you were at when you set the alert. So you can see that I did put a note here, and they do give you the option to put notes, in the alerts. So something that I'm going to start doing moving forward is I'm just going to put that small note in the alert so that we can be reminded of what the market cap is at the time that we set the alert. Okay. You don't have to do it for both, since we're typically setting, two alerts, one for over, one for under. But at least, put it in one. I think it makes probably more sense to put in the over, but, it's whatever you want to do. So I set this one, at 67. I think it probably was a little bit lower, but for the second or for the last video, I think I mentioned, I think it started out, with this particular token. And I mentioned that it was at 67, so I put 67 in there. But yeah. So we can see that I did make those notes, for these, for some of these, and I didn't do it for all of them because I've got some other alerts here, for tokens that we hadn't discussed, in the videos, but again, me highlighting this is just to help you make more use, of the alert function that Dexscreener has. Now, the first one I'm going to take a look at is Purple Doge Poge. That one was at 71, and we can see, look at my tab here. The reason why I highlighted this one is because, yeah, it was one that we talked about yesterday that I thought, maybe, we'll set some alerts and see what it does. And this was at 71 that we set the alert for. But the other thing that I didn't point out yesterday is that typically when you see right here, you can see that there was a run right here, right? And this was on launch, but then they had another run right here. What I have found in my experience is that when you see a couple of runs on a chart, and I'm not saying that this is an absolute certainty, but typically when you've already got a couple of runs, and again, I'm just highlighting my own experience, it is very difficult for that chart to keep retracing hard and then keep running back up. So if you already see a couple of them, just know it's going to be a challenge for that chart to continue on a third run, because there's already going to be a bunch of sell pressure. And we see that indicated here. We see it indicated here, onto these run-ups and then just hard retracements. So just keep that in mind. I'm not saying that it's an absolute. I'm not saying that it's always going to work out that way. But I've seen it plenty of times where when you've already got a couple of runs, it's going to be it's going to be the struggle bus, man, to make a third run. And even, I think I had highlighted this to my X community, I think at like 69K yesterday, just because there was a lot of activity, in the channel, which I did like to see. But one of the things that I completely ignored yesterday, which, that was my own fault, is that they already had a couple of runs on this chart, and it was always going to be a tough thing to accomplish to get this to move again. And every time there's a little bit of buy pressure, it is accompanied by a ton of sell pressure. Same thing here. So you can see that pattern, and we're talking about lower lows. You can see it, so yeah, this one likely is probably going to continue to retrace. It's going to be very difficult for this one to move back on up to anywhere close, to their all-time highs. I just don't see this one recovering. I could be wrong, but I think it's going to take, a lot of buy pressure to get this one out, of this pattern that we're seeing on the chart. So just wanted to highlight that for you. And then Doge Sun. So if we go back here, where are we at? Okay, so this one I had set the alert to, for going over 155. I don't remember what the initial market cap was, so my fault, as far as that's concerned. You know what? Just because I'm very curious, let me pause this real quick and then I'll come back and I'll let you know what it was. Okay, so I took a look at the video done on the 11th and the video done on the 12th. The one on the 11th, the market cap for this was 162. When we set the alerts yesterday, it was at 140. So taking a look now, and like I said, we know that there's a delay here, and then you obviously know what's going on here. So even though this is saying 186, the market cap is actually 195. Okay. So with that being said, when we set the alerts, essentially, if we go back here, this alert was set, again, it was at 140 when we set it. And I said, okay, let's see what's going on at 155. So I wanted to be alerted, when it went over 155. So obviously, when I saw it, yesterday, I was like, okay, it's starting to go ahead and move a little bit. And here's what we're seeing. We're seeing, is this the possibility, of a possible uptrend? So yes, we look like we're getting a little bit of uptrend, but I've seen this happen on other charts as well, where you start to see a little bit of an uptrend and then it's accompanied by sell pressure. So, but this has been holding. I'm not saying that it's necessarily going to continue to move up, but it is, as we know with these alerts, we're getting an indicator, right? That's the whole purpose behind setting the alerts. The alerts are essentially indicating to us that, hey, this may be a possibility that it's going to continue to move up. The one thing that I would caution you about, looking at something like this in terms of a possible uptrend, is that we saw the same thing here, where we saw, and it's not as subtle, right? Like this one is a sharp uptrend, and then it was accompanied by a sharp downtrend. So here we're seeing a more subtle uptrend, which I prefer to see. But again, it's not an absolute that just because we're seeing something more subtle that it's going to continue to move in that direction. Because anytime you see a bunch of buys, the normal pattern, for any chart is they're accompanied by sells, which we want to see that because that is indicative of a healthy chart. Okay, and healthy buying and selling activity. You can't just have straight up buys and then no sells, because people that got in earlier, they're making money off of the people that have bought in after they purchased, at an earlier position. And at some point, they're going to sell. Okay, so just keep that in mind, that this is a good indicator, like what I'm seeing in terms of the uptrend. Does it mean it's going to continue to go up? I don't know, but that could be information enough, for you to decide if you want to take a position, and is that something where you would take a small position, just being kind of mindful, whether, understanding the possibility that it could still come down. Again, that's going to be up to you in terms of how you decide to proceed. But I want to highlight that, we set that alert yesterday at 140, and this has made some movement, which is positive, that's the whole reason behind why we set these alerts. And sometimes those alerts work out for us, sometimes they don't. Right? Okay, so we're going to close this one out. So I do like, what I'm seeing there. Okay, so for Finger Elon Musk. Okay, so this was at 118 when we saw this yesterday. You can see my note here. Okay, so looking at this right now, this is what the chart looks like. If we want to go out a little bit more just to see, more details in the chart, we can go to the 15-minute instead of the 1 hour. We can see what's going on here. So since we set this at 118, it's saying 125 here. This is also corresponding with 125 up here. Okay, so that's where it's at. Okay, and does this, my whole thought process, in terms of lower levels, on a chart, especially if a chart sits, is that if a chart sits on a buy too long, you're probably going to see some sells. So I don't know, for this one, it hasn't strayed too far, from the alert that I set. Like I said, I set the alert at 118. It's at 125. I'd probably more than likely continue to watch this one. I'd probably jump into the Telegram to see, what's going on there. So that's just my thoughts. And again, if you're new here, just understand, I go ahead and I review some of the stuff that we've done from the day before, and then we jump into, the filters and we look at some newer stuff. So Just adding that bit of a disclaimer or informational context, for you, especially if you're new. But if you've been here, you already know this is kind of how we flow. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close this one out. Okay, tips AI, this one, I'm looking at, let's see here, the trigger here. Okay, so we put it 67. We want it to be made aware, according to the alert, if it slipped under 60,000. So if we look here, obviously the first time we looked at this, I told you I had reservations about this chart and I wasn't really sure where it was going to go, but I did think that there would be retracement. Okay, now we've got a wall of cells, just looking at the first bit of what we see here in the transaction area. And I personally think this is probably going to continue to retrace even further, because when you typically have this much sell pressure, it's typically accompanied by more sell pressure, because do we actually have a catalyst, where this is actually going to move up at all, right? Okay, so this one, again, we set that alert at 67. It's retraced down to 50. So I think if this retraces anymore, I'm just going to delete the alert, and then we're just going to move on from this particular token. And then Hood Rat, I think we set the alert for this one at like 118 maybe, or it could have been even less. Oh, okay, it was 109. So alert me when the market cap goes over 130. We set that alert at 109 according to my note here. Okay, and so here we go. And they're saying that this is sitting at 166. So always remember, there's typically when the chart's moving, we're seeing a little bit of a delay in terms of what's shown here, as opposed to what's shown up in the tab. Now, sometimes the tab doesn't always line up as perfectly like, where you see 166 and you see the actual market cap is 166. Sometimes the number is different. I can't tell you why. But with that being said, obviously there's been some movement, from the initial alert at 109. Now we're sitting at 166. Now, is that enough for me? And I didn't look at the alert right away when it was triggered. So obviously there's been more activity since the alert was triggered. Maybe when the alert was triggered, if I saw it at that time, I would have maybe taken a position, but I certainly would have looked to see what was going on. Okay, so just keep in mind this, and what I'm doing here and showing you and reiterating these concepts, things that we've talked about, in each video, is that the importance of setting the alerts is so that you don't have to babysit the chart. Once the alert comes in, then you can go back to the chart. You can take a look at what's going on. You can make an assessment. You can just simply watch if you want to, but it helps you stay more informed in terms of the next step that you want to take. In terms of a particular token that you're deciding to watch in accordance to what's going on with your alerts, with the alerts you set. Okay, so again, positive that this is continuing to move. We'll see if it continues to do that, or if there's going to be some sell pressure that comes in that moves it down. So, because like I said, I'm never a fan of buying the top of any candle. So I personally think since you've got this wall of green buys, there's going to be a sell that's coming, and once those sales come, maybe that's when, if it was me, then I may want to reevaluate whether I want to take an entry or not. So just my thoughts there. Now let's move into what we typically would move into, and that is looking at the filters and deciding what we're going to take a look at today. So all right. So these, because I haven't touched this from yesterday, all right, I just left the window open. So these are obviously the stuff, the filters that we had set yesterday. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to reset it, and then we're going to set some new ones. All right, so platforms. Let's just take a look at Solana today. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and set this at 1,000 market cap. We're going to leave it at our standard 50K, and you know what, we're going to go to 500K today. Okay, so we're going to go a little bit further out. Pair age, I don't know. Let's look at something, yesterday I think we started at like 12 hours. So we're going to go to maybe an 8-hour block today, and we're going to go to 24 hours. Okay, so again, newer tokens, but let's see what's going on. And our 24-hour change, we're going with a 10% minimum, because I don't want to see anything that hasn't had at least a 10% gain in the last 24 hours. We're going to click apply. And here we go. As always, we got that 24-hour ticked, so we can see the most volume in the last 24 hours, all the way down to meeting that at least 10%. Okay, so here we are. And okay, so we're just scrolling through, seeing what's in here. Okay. And as always, I'm just going to go ahead and start opening, some tokens, and let's see what we got. Okay. I don't really mind if they don't have pictures, but we'll stick with pictures today. Okay. And Fuddy Cap, we'll go and we'll open that one up too. All right. So here we go. All right. And I've opened them at the 15-minute. The 15 minutes probably okay for the time parameters that we set in the filters. Okay, so I'm just scrolling through just to take a quick look, at these charts. All right, so for this one in particular, one, I don't like the chart pattern. Anytime I'm seeing stuff like this right here on a chart, it doesn't look healthy to me. So that typically indicates to me could be something scamish or scammy. So I typically tend to avoid looking, or even delving in, to a chart, or a token like this. So we also don't have any socials, as well. So that's also another red flag for me. So this one's going to be a skip. And keep in mind, anytime we're looking at newer tokens, I've mentioned this before. I've also mentioned that, by trade, before really getting into, cryptocurrency, digital currencies, I used to teach, in the educational arena, I also was an admin, as well. And so, one of the things that I do, you're going to find that through this series, we're going to repeat some concepts. The way that we learn is we repeat concepts. This stuff applies to literally every aspect of your life. So for anybody that's annoyed, maybe about that, this is just kind of my flow and how I operate in terms of how I reinforce concepts, how I teach things that, people may or may not know how to do. Okay. So looking at animal. Okay. So we got a nice banner here. Okay, and let's see here. This one had a strong launch candle, saw some retracements, and then we see some buy pressure return, and then it's just been nothing but retracement and strong retracement as well. So this one, to me, just at first glance, I don't see this one recovering, just because to me there's too much sell pressure. There is risky, to buy at this level is very, very risky, especially in a sea of red, in a sea of sells, so just keep that in mind. I mean, there's so much sell pressure when you look at this chart that I just don't see where buy pressure is going to return to this chart. Now we can take a look, at the telegram. We can see if there's anything going on in there that may clue us in to the possibility, of sell pressure returning to the chart. But I am very, I am very much one that doesn't think that that's probably going to happen. So here we get, buy at 1032, and then we're looking for the next buy, and we're not seeing it, so, and this one goes back to like 342 this morning. So there's literally no buy pressure, on this chart. They've got, very, very little going on in terms of communication in the pinned messages area, so this one is one that I'm fairly certain we're going to leave this one alone. Okay. So here we go. We're going to close out animal, and the stuff that I tell you in terms of how I see it, you're obviously going to figure out what works for you, but I'm just sharing with you how, when I look at something and when I go into the community, what I see and what helps me in terms of evaluating whether I think that it's got any potential, at all to make any kind of moves on the chart. All right. So, all right, guys, give me 1 second. So sometimes I'll pause the video because I'm still a little bit under the weather, so I still sound a little nasally. Hopefully that doesn't come across too much in the video. But either way, moving forward, this is ITXS. I don't know if that really. Okay, let's see here. Let's look at the banner here. It says the future is here, so, but I don't really know how that corresponds with IT. Well, what was it? ITXS. But either way, I just wanted to see if that name actually stands for something. With that being said, we get a bit of a launch candle. We get strong retracement right afterwards. That's not unusual. We get some buy pressure returning. Okay, returning after some retracements. But again, it's done nothing but retrace. Since then. You can see here in this area, this area where it kind of breaks down more information for you in terms of what's going on in the 5 minute, the 1 hour, the 6 hour, the 24 hour, that we just see heavy retracement on the 5-minute. We're seeing more than 35% retracement on the 1 hour, more than 40% on the 6 hour, and this really is just more about the launch, so typically when you're seeing numbers like this, it's typically in regards to the launch, especially on a newer token. Now, if we're seeing a lot of buy pressure, you could possibly see numbers like this, in your 1 hour and 6 hour too. But here you're just, that these numbers correspond to what you're seeing here. All right. So again, we'll take a look in the Telegram to see if there's anything going on that may indicate, they're going to do anything to kind of reconcile that, but I don't know. So we got a lot of members here, in their channel. We don't see a portal. Just like we didn't see one for annual, it's just straight up once you go to the Telegram, you're already in once you click on join channel. Let's see, in terms of pinned messages. Oh, okay, so we do have a portal, but I don't like that. You actually have to click. You have to click on one of the pinned messages to actually see the portal. Okay, so keep that in mind. I'm glad that showed up because I don't always do that. To click first to see if they've got a portal. That portal really should show up right away. Okay. But either way, here we are, and that's weird because we just went ahead and clicked on tap to verify, and then we automatically see the screen. So I don't know, it's like a portal, not portal, I don't know. With that being said, you can see they've got a scheduled video chat, set for 3 days. They say we've got plans to push this again, but here's my immediate thought. You're already seeing a ton of retracement on this chart, right? Okay, there's already a bunch of retracement on this chart. You've got a VC set up for 3 days beyond, what you're already seeing right now on this chart. This token could be dead by the time they get to that 3-day VC. And they're saying they've got plans to push the chart. If you got plans to push the chart, and this is just, my thoughts on this, you should be telling your community what those plans are right now, right? So looking at that alone, I'm already thinking, and we've already been, so we've been in here maybe a couple of minutes already, and there's been no additional messages. So there's no real community activity, and activity from the community is helpful in terms of making an assessment as to how you'd like to proceed on any kind of chart or token that you're looking at. So I see one person typing, but to me, that's not enough. So in my personal opinion, this is one that I'm not going to touch or look at. I'm just not going to invest any kind of, energy into continuing to watch this. We did get one buy, that came in at $28. But yeah, this one I'd say is probably a no for me. Okay, so looking at this one, this is interesting because we see that we've got, the uptick on the launch, and then we see, heavy retracement here. We saw a chart like this yesterday where there was big time retracement, and it went ahead and it recovered from there. This one looks a little different because we see that it's recovering, but we already see sell pressure, return right here, and then we see more sell pressure, we get some buys, and then we see sells coming in. Okay, so I don't know. This one maybe, I'm curious about it, so I probably will set an alert depending on what I see in the Telegram. So I'm going to take a look, what's going on here in the Telegram. All right, so we do get the portal right away. So we're going to go ahead and get our link. And this is what should have happened in the last one, but we didn't get this, So, all right, so we're here and looking at the pin message. They do have some pin messages. This is connected to their X account is what I'm guessing. All right. So they've got a bunch of supply that's been staked, which is pretty, that's a positive, signal to me. Let's see, shilling. Okay, I didn't see anything in regards to rating though yet, so I'm guessing they're not rating. Everyone, big announcement. All right, found that the 6% bag is someone providing LP, to a DLMM, which I'm not really sure what that means. This means as the price goes up and it gets outside of his range and he removes his LP, he will withdraw only Solana and no supply, letting him sell without hurting the chart. That means we have amazing distribution. Okay, so that's interesting. I've never heard that before, but it's good that if you got somebody who's got a bunch of supply and they're selling, it's not going to hurt the chart. So that's interesting. All right, they got a voice message, some more voice messages. Okay, let's see here. Supply shock. So in supply shock, I'm not really going to go into that real deep. But basically, when you look at something, like Solana scan, you can see, how many tokens are still left to be sold. So once those tokens are sold, then in theory, what happens is, there's a huge candle that shoots up on the chart. So yeah, that's kind of like a real short and dirty explanation for supply shock. Anybody else is interested in that, you can obviously look into that a little bit more. But I don't really care for when tokens start talking about supply shock. Anytime I've seen tokens start talking about supply shock, most of the time they never get to that level of supply shock. Because it requires that, people got to continue to buy and not sell, so to actually, remove the amount of tokens that are out there available to buy. All right. And if I've explained that incorrectly, if anybody has anything to add to that, you're always welcome to go ahead and do that in the comments area. Okay. So moving back. So there's some stuff going on, but again, for me personally, I'd want to see more happening in terms of movement on this chart, movement upwards, less sell pressure, more buy pressure. So this is one where we're at 93K. I'm going to go ahead and set an alert for this. So remember, I don't go ahead and mess around with USD or the price of the native token. Just go straight to market cap. I find it's easier to read. So we're going to mark this right now, right away, so we don't forget. We're looking at this at 93K. We're going to say, I'd like to see this get to 125, okay, before I make any kind of reevaluation. And going under, I don't know, let's see if it goes to 70K. All right, so we're going to mark this again at 93, just so we got the note in both areas. You don't have to, but I don't know, maybe it makes sense to do it. So, all right, we're going to create that alert. So there we go. I'm going to go out of that, and we're going to close it out. Okay, so looking at the next one here, this one, I don't know, what's the 1 hour look like? All right, so we've got, we had some buys here, and now we've got, that sell pressure going on there. We're sitting at 82. Keep in mind, looking at our filters, just to be reminded of what those filters look like. Let's see here. I usually make this. You know what I didn't do today? I did not customize this, did I? All right, so you know what? No, this is the same one as yesterday, so I don't have to go ahead and touch that. Okay, so never mind. I couldn't see the filters. So, but either way, keeping in mind what are our filters? Our filters are 8 hours to 24 hours. So we're still looking at newer tokens. All right, so keep that in mind as you're looking at some of these charts. And I'm just putting that reminder out there so that you understand, what we're seeing here. Okay, so, oops, sorry guys, I'm messing around with the views here. So we do see some sell pressure. We see some buy pressure. We don't see any kind of social for Telegram, so that right away from me, seeing that, and we just get a website, I'm not really interested in this. I want to see more socials, so I'm not going to touch this one. We're going to move on. Okay, so this looks like a Christmas token, so it's Pump a Claus. All right, so we've got the socials here, and we see some sell pressure. We see a good launch candle, but even after that launch candle, heavy retracement. We do see buy pressure return, more retracement, and then just big retracement. So it's starting to recover a little bit, but I don't know. This is one where it's just one of those where you gotta get more information to figure out, what's going on here. So let's look at the Telegram. Let's see if they got anything in here that's going to tell us anything. The last buy was at 936. Okay, so 936 for the last buy. Looking at my clock, I'm looking at 10:55 in the morning. So 936 to me, that's too long for the last buy to have occurred. Now, I get it, it's a newer token. However, what are they doing to do anything to get more exposure on this token? Looking at the pin meshes, they really don't have much going on there. So that tells me this is probably going to continue to retrace. Okay, so this is one where I've already got all the information I need. Personally, I'm not going to touch it. So we're going to move on from this one too. All right, Fuddy Cat. We're sitting at 56K. We've got the socials. Okay, this one. Okay, I like what's going on here in terms of their launch. They got some retracement, but not a dump. Okay, and then we're starting to see some buys return to the chart. And even here, it still looks pretty decent outside of this this block of sells, but I'm guessing that was right here. Okay, so it doesn't look too bad even here in the buy transactions area. Let's take a look at what's going on in the Telegram. So here we go. Fuddy Cat Community last buy was 4 minutes ago, 5 minutes ago. That's not bad. And then here, we get a couple of buys. All right. Let's see, rating. They've got some rating going on, which is good. Okay, and the community obviously is involved because they were able to finish, that raid as well. So let's see what they got going on here. They've got a couple of messages up here in the pinned message area. I personally want to see more information, more communication taking place there. But this is one that maybe I would take a look at and want to watch. So we're going to set some alerts. We're at 56K, so we're going to go straight to our market cap, goes over. Let's go and let's mark this real quick at 56K. So goes over, I don't know, let's say 75K. Oops, I gotta keep remembering. I can't put K in there. It will only allow you to put the numbers in. You can't do K. And sometimes I put K in because my bot will allow me to go ahead and just put K, and it knows what it means, so that's. And if you guys are interested in utilizing a bot, for trades, I've tested several different bots, as I've mentioned, in another video, Bananas. I haven't looked at the Photon bot, but I've used Trojan, DeFi Cafe. I've used, I think I mentioned Trojan and Maestro. Maestro is the one to me that has the largest suite of tools, that's been most consistent. Never had a wallet compromise using Maestro in what, almost a year now, so yeah, I find Maestro to be very secure. At least that's been my experience with it. Not saying it's an absolute, but that's been my experience. So that's the reason why in my Telegram channel, any channels that I use, I am always advocating that if you're going to do trading, that's your choice. But getting in and out of those trades very quickly, Maestro it seems to be very, very effective, doing that. So, all right. With that being said, we're going to create this alert at 75, and then we're also going to set one under. Remember, we always set 2 alerts. So we're at 56. I think if this drops, to 40, I'll take a look at it again, but we'll see. So we're going to set this at 56. 56K. All right, so we created the alerts. All right, so we're done with that. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to take a look at some, let's see here. We're going to take a look at some other ones. So MicroStrategy, we didn't take a look at that. I don't think we did. Taint. Okay, we'll take a look at this one. Elon Musk's alt. No, I'm not going to look at that. Okay, this is a Christmas one. Let's take a look at that. And full circle, I don't know what that is. Baby can't sell. I don't know. Let's take a look at that too. All right. So, and here I don't really have any rhyme or reason. It's just, we're just, like I said before, we're just going to open some up and we're going to see, what we can see. Quad 2, let me open this one up too. Okay. So let's take a look at the charts, real quickly. Okay. We did take a look at this one. All right. So we don't need to look at that. Fuddy Cat. Is that the one that we just looked at? All right. Sorry guys. When you're doing these videos, sometimes you don't always remember what you've looked at and what you haven't. So yeah, you guys are probably wondering, like, did we already look at that one? But either way, okay, so we got this one, not looking too bad. This one too, that's an interesting picture. We're going to see, okay, that helps to see what's going on with that chart. And here, baby can't sell, and then Claude 2. Okay, all right, let's go back here. Now, with that being said, we see that this one, I mean, I like what I'm seeing. You had a really strong launch candle, some retracement, big retracement, obviously. And then, you can see that there's just been continued buy pressure. Now, obviously, anybody that got in these lower levels, if they were watching and they timed it correctly, they went ahead and they sold, up here at the top. So we got the retracement, again, probably people just taking profits. I don't really see anything, concerning about that. So the question for me at this point is, how much more retracement before buy pressure returns to the chart? Okay, so, and we're looking at these numbers here. These are good numbers, as far as I'm concerned. We're sitting at a $415,000 market cap, at least that's what's being said here. And then you can see up here, we're actually at more like around 400,000. But we've got our socials here. So we're going to take a look at Telegram and see what's going on there. Okay, so we're going to verify. I'm going to clear some of this stuff out. So there we go. All right, let's click start and let's get in there and see what's going on. Okay, so we got rating going on. All right, they restricted my ability to send messages. So when you come in here, if you choose to take a look at this one, you got to click to prove you're human, and then the chat box does open up. Okay, so last buy was at 10:59. That's 2 minutes ago, according to my clock. Okay, and then before that, 10:57, so 2 minutes before. Okay, so And then we've got some things going on here in the pin message area. Okay. Actually, let me go back so we can actually read that. I'm sorry, went through that pretty quickly. So at Feynman Labs, we've locked our entire token allocation securely until 1/1/2025 out of conviction for the project. As you can see, transparency and honesty are our priorities. Now it's back to work, back to progress, back to the drawing board. Locked wallet, and they are transparent in showing you that they've locked their token allocations, in this particular wallet, which, hey, transparency is important, right? We want to see more and more of that in crypto. We don't see a ton of that from a lot of projects and tokens, so that's always helpful when tokens are out front doing that. So, and again, we want to see communication from the team. So they're saying here you wanted a Dexscreener. Okay, she's already working on it. So they're going to, upload that. Now, if we go back, let's see, did they upload? Okay, so they got a banner here. I don't know if they're going to do a different one, but they got a banner here. Okay, so we're going back over there. All right, so yeah, I mean, they've got some stuff going on here. They said they're working in the background to bring, EVA Telegram soon. Okay, so this was, what day was this? You can hover over this to see. This was the 12th, so this was yesterday, so, okay, so they got some stuff going on. There's activity. There was another big buy actually that came in literally just now. So we're going to go back to the chart, and so we can see there was that buy. But with that being said, I mean, it looks like there is some activity. This is one where I don't know that I'd be fully convicted, on this one yet. I think I'd go ahead and set some alerts, so where are we at? We're at 408, okay, 408K, and we're going to move over to market cap, goes over. I'm going to say, let's see this hit 430. Okay, on the alert to go up, and we're going to set this one, I'm going to actually go down to 350. Okay, because I'm not sure that the sell pressure is over with yet. So I'm going to set that one, there. So we're setting this at 408K. Okay, so we're setting those alerts. So that's done. All right, so we can close this out. This one here, I think it's, kind of humorous as far as, what they got going on over here in the banner. But with that being said, we're sitting at, this is saying 223, this is saying 224. Either way, it's about the same arena. All right, and I went ahead and I went to the 5 minute, because if you go to the 1 hour, you just can't really see what's going on. So what you can do, instead of even going here, you can just, if you got, use your mouse, and you can just scroll up, and you can continue to scroll out, and you can do that, okay? Or you can go to the 5 minutes. The 5 minute, if you scroll down or up, it'll give you a little bit more in terms of what's going on with each candle, right? So, and we can see buys, we can see the sells here. So, I don't know. I'm not completely sold on this one yet. I want to see it move in one direction or the other to help me get a, a better idea in terms of what's going on, on the chart here. So with that being said, because we see here in the 5 minute, the 1 hour, and the 6 hour that we've got just continued retracement. Okay, so let's take a look, what's going on in the channel. Okay, so here we go. All right. Okay, so we're going to join the group. And all right, so they've got some memes going on as far as the turkey and what it's wearing and so on and so forth. But with that being said, we've got the last buy that came in at 10:57. So that's about 8 minutes ago. I personally want to see more frequency in terms of buys. Pin messages. They've got some messages here. So. But, I want to see more in terms of what are they going to be doing to push the token. The only thing that I've seen so far has been raids. That's all I've seen. So they had a sniper apparently that apparently created, a pretty big sell. So when we go back here to the chart, it's hard to see. Okay, maybe it's here. Maybe here is where that took place, where you see a strong, sell, or it could have been much earlier on, because obviously on this launch, I mean, it went up pretty high and then it came down hard. So that 17K sell probably was here and not here, because this is a much smaller wick. So let's go back to the channel. So they did want to communicate, that that was a sniper, not the team. They're telling you to go ahead and check the wallet. And then here they're giving you some information, as well, in the light of transparency, as best I can figure. So yeah. And then they also have here that there was supposed to be a voice chat, a VC, at 10:57. That hasn't been started, so that also is something else to pay attention to in terms of, is that a good signal or not a good signal? Not sure what's going on, with that, but it will be helpful if the team would communicate, why they've got a timer set up, for VC, and there's no VC, so something just to pay attention to, in your overall evaluation, so, and here's the other thing, this hasn't really moved, since we started the video. So again, here, my concern is, and the other thing to pay attention to is when you've got more memes than communication, in a token, that's also, to me, not a good signal. You want to see more communication. You want to see more buys. Memes are all, always part of it, but you want to see more activity that pushes the chart forward as opposed to the chart just kind of, being stagnant. So for this one, I'm thinking this chart is going to go down. So we're at 225K. All right, so making that note. I'm not setting one for going over. I believe that this is going to go down. So I'm going to set this at, I'm going to go ahead and set it at 190. Okay. Just because I do believe it's going to continue to go down. I don't think there's anything going on there that's going to, lead to buy pressure. So that's where we're going to set that. Oh, I got to set this for under. Okay. So like I said, I'm not setting an over, for that one because I just believe that it's going to go down. That's my own guess, on this one as far as this token is concerned. Now, with that being said, we're looking at baby can't sell. All right, so this one we're looking at 219. I'm going to go out on this chart a bit more just to see what's going on. And we got, we're looking at some heavy retracement here, after a bunch of buy pressure, which that's not unusual. I mean, especially if you get into these lower levels, you're going to see sells, right? Because when you get a candle like this, and I've mentioned this on at least a couple of videos before now, these kind of candles are not going to be allowed to stand. There's been too many people that have have made money, at this point, so they're going to sell, and that's not unusual. This is indicative of what's healthy, in terms of any kind of token. So, however, you get some buy pressure returning, more sells, and this could also be people that didn't catch being able to sell here, and maybe they're concerned, that they're already, whatever their position is, whenever they got in, or whatever they may have missed in terms of being able to sell, maybe they're taking this as an opportunity to go ahead and sell. Again, that's just my own speculation. We get more sell pressure. We get a buy pressure returning. All right, so obviously anybody getting in here, they're probably selling, at this point, okay, which leads to that. So that's just, kind of some explanation in terms of what's going on here in terms of the candles on the chart. Now, we don't get a Telegram social here. So for me personally, because we don't get that Telegram social, I'm not interested in messing with this one, but at least, highlighting, what's going on in the chart here. So in spite of not having a Telegram, at least that's what it looks like right here. They're still getting buys and selling some activity. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and close this one out. And then looking at Claude 2. First thing that I see, we get a wall of sells here. Okay, not sure what's going on there. We get a buy returning, but we got a strong launch candle. Ton of retracement, we get a little bit more retracement, some buys returning, retracement again, and then it's starting to head back up. So we're at, this is saying 317, but this is saying 304. I'm going to go ahead and take a look, what's going on in the channel. And this automatically, we can see that it's a CTO. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to confirm the link here. We're going to get in there. We got over 500 members, in this channel. Okay. And so yeah, our last buy was at 1109. That was just 1 minute ago. That's the buy that we saw come in on the chart before we came into the channel. Let's see what else is going on here. Okay, so just somebody asking for the contract. We do have, some stuff going on in the pin messages. We do get they're working on getting their X account, premium, so they can get that blue check mark. They've got rating that's in progress. However, this is concerning that there's been no activity on the raids. Guys, one thing that I can tell you is that if you're in a token and nobody is participating in raids, you cannot get exposure just by sitting on your hands and doing nothing. So I've mentioned this in another token, in that 2025 token. I made a comment, earlier today that, sometimes when you're in tokens, you got to have some conviction, if it makes sense to have conviction in that particular token. But one of the things is that if you don't have community participation, particularly when it comes to raids, that token is going to be a very short-lived token. The team can go ahead and show up and do what they need to do, but if the community doesn't do their part and you're in one of those tokens where you can't even get 6 likes, on a raid, that's a problem. And I see something like that as not a bullish sign or signal. I don't see that as a positive signal in a token. This raid has had no activity, and you got 510 members in here. Again, when you look at something like that, that's something that you have to factor into your own evaluation when you're looking at a token. You can think it's got a great name, you can think that the memes are great, but if you're not getting any participation from the community, sure, you might still get some buys, but the buy pressure can't continue on its own. There has to be, the community actually has to be a part of this. So like I said, it's encouraging that they're still getting buys, but I don't know that this is going to continue to keep moving in this direction if you're not getting community input, right? So that's just my own thoughts on that. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm not wrong, but I've seen too many tokens where they just didn't get any participation from the community, and they had their run, and then it just died because the community just kind of didn't want to get involved in the token to help push it as well. So all right, so with that being said, we're sitting at 302. I'll set a couple of alerts for this. Maybe the participation front will change, I don't know, but we're going to see. So right now we're sitting at 286, okay, because this is showing 308, but this is showing 286, and I go by this just because this in the tab, it moves faster and it's not delayed like it is over here. So we're sitting at 286K, and I'm going to say going over, let's see if we can make it to 350. All right, so we're going to set that alert, and then I'm going to set one for going under. Also going to put in my note here, 286, and now you can see that it's adjusted to 286. All right, and this is now saying 289. So again, just making my point that this is delayed. This is more accurate. Okay. With that being said, I'm going to say that I think this is going to retrace, pretty hard in my personal opinion. So I'm going to go to 230. All right, especially if it stands as it is currently, in the channel, where you're not getting any participation on these raids. Like I said, you don't get participation from the community. That is a surefire sign that the token cannot keep moving up. It just can't. But the participation can always change. It just depends on, what the community feels about it. How the community feels about it and what they want to do in terms of, their behavior and their conviction, to the token. All right. So with that being said, we're going to set that alert. All right. So there we go. We're going to take a look at a few more, and then I think we'll probably go ahead and call it, on this one for today. But let's go further down. Soltard, let's take a look at you. Let's take a look at another Christmas one since we're in the holiday season. Persona and Paperboy. And I know I'm looking close to the bottom, but sometimes those are where you find some opportunities as well. All right, so taking a look here, this one's got a ton of retracements. All right, real quick, and this one, a lot of retracement as well, just staying at these lower levels. It looks like buys are just getting eaten up by sells. All right, this one, even though there's been retracement, it still looks like it's trying to go and fight to move up. And this one, interestingly enough, this one looks like it's trying to move up as well, even though we get some retracement. So we're going to take a more intentional look, looking at the socials. So let's take a look here at retard or tard. Okay, so that's what this one is. All right, and so we're gonna verify since we see that they've got a portal here. Okay, so here we go. And right away we can see that we got some raids going. Okay, so that shows us there's still participation taking place, in this particular token. That's good. We want to see that. We got a bunch of pin messages. And if it brings me back down, it's just because every time that raid refreshes, it'll go ahead and take you right back to the raid. So, all right, so we've had a number of different raids. Okay, so a lot of these pin messages are the raids. Okay, so that to me, it's kind of like false advertising. It looks like they're really communicating to their community, but most of those, a lot of those are just raids being pinned. All right, so we got some stuff going on in terms of the X channel. I'm not seeing anything in terms of, how are we going to continue to push this. We get something forwarded, I think from Mad Apes maybe. This is stickers, so that's not really that important. Okay, so it looks like they were trending at one point. All right, so yeah, here we go. So they were trending. Okay, I don't know if that was organic or if they actually paid for trending. So yeah, I mean, their Dex ads was paid, so that's good. So looks like they're invested to some degree into this. So, but last buy that came at 11:09, so that was roughly what 6-7 minutes ago. So yeah, that's still not bad. I think once you're getting to that 10-15 minute range, where you're not seeing buys, that starts to become concerning for me. So we're going to go back to the chart. So, but like I said, here's the concern. You got a wall of red on the buy transactions. We see lower lows. We're seeing more retracement than buys. So even though they've got raids going, even if you look here, you're looking at 42% 6 hour, 10% on the 1 hour, 3% on the 5 minute. So it's just nothing but sells. So that concerns me. So this is likely, in my opinion, sitting where it is right now. We get another sell that just came in. This is probably going to continue to retrace. So we'll set an alert. But I think this one is going to continue to retrace, in my personal opinion. So this is sitting at, let's see here, 161. So we're going to set that at 160 is where it's at. Looking at the tab. Okay, and I think this is going to go. I think this could actually go to 100K. So, all right. So I'm going to create that alert. I'm not setting one. Well, you know what? Hey, we'll set one to go above, but I'm not so sure this is going to. Looking at those numbers, at these numbers over here, I'm not so sure this is actually going to go back up. So we're going to create that alert. All right. So I'm going to set one to go over. We're making our note at 160K. Okay, so there we go, and goes over, I don't know, we're at 160. I think it gets interesting if this can go back to 200. So at 200, this might actually be one to take another look at, but I'm not so positive. I'm not confident that it's going to make it back up there, not with how much sell pressure is currently on their chart. And then looking at what's going on, even from here, you get these buys here. I think if buys do return on the chart, I think you're going to get hit with a bunch of sells. That's just what I think, looking at this one. All right, so Bulldog here, the bullish dog. So we'll take a look, here, but this does concern me that we're looking at, that kind of retracement, on the 6 hour and the 1 hour. And then, like I said before, when we immediately looked at this chart right away, that you see that, we're staying in these bottom levels and buys are just getting eaten up by sells. So we're going to go to the Telegram. We're going to look at the channel and see what's going on there. So they've obviously, got some stuff going on in this token, where we can't, we can't continue to look at that token because that one's obviously a scam. So I'm going to pause this real quick so I can cut that out. Okay, so we moved on to a different token because on the Bull Doge, or the Bulldog, I think it was. Let's see here. Where was it? Yeah, this one, the Doge Father. We ran into some images in that particular one that I had to cut out of this particular video. That indicated that it's essentially a scam, and sometimes you'll run into tokens, in crypto where people will go ahead and start flooding a channel, with images that are illicit. And, so that portion had to be cut, out of this particular video. So just be aware that that's the reason why you didn't get to see anything as far as that channel is concerned, because that section had to be cut out because of the images that were in there that would not have been appropriate, for an upload to YouTube. Okay, so with that being said, we're looking at Persona, and this one, the chart doesn't look too bad, so we're going to take a look, at the Telegram channel and see what's going on here. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and verify our link and get our link. All right, so we're joining, and then what do we see here? So we see that the last buy was at 11:18. That was 3 minutes ago. All right, we got a raid in progress. So it looks like there's good activity on the raid, especially when you're looking at this number of likes. And if you're getting anywhere in the neighborhood of over 20, I think that's good participation from the community. So that's something that we want to see. We've got some pinned messages, as well. Okay, so they've made a request to CoinGecko, the major buy bot, so they got some community trending, and they're encouraging, obviously community members to go ahead and vote so they can get in that trending. So let's see here, but I don't see anything. Okay, so we see some lock information. This is also positive information that I like to see. Okay, but I want to see more in terms of what we're going to do to continue to push the token. The only thing I'm seeing right now is raids and trending. So I personally want to see more, but looking at what they've got going on so far, that's not bad. So all right, so there's that, and let's see here. So here, like I said, this one, the chart doesn't look bad. It looks like, this has potential to continue to move forward in my personal opinion. Doesn't mean that it will, but it does look like it has some potential there. So what we're going to do is we're absolutely going to go ahead and set some alerts on this one. We're sitting at 107K. Okay, so we're going to market cap. We're at 107, so let's go ahead and let's make our note. And I want to see this one get to 125. If it gets to 125, we'll definitely take another look at this one. Okay, and we're going to set one going under and setting our note again at 107K. If it goes under, I don't know, we'll say 85. Oops, not 58, 85. I think I'd still come back and take a look at it. It might be an opportunity, maybe for an entry if I were to look at potentially, taking an entry in this token. So, okay, so we're going to go ahead and create that alert for going under. Okay, and that's going to do it. Actually, we've got this Paperboy one. We'll take a look at that one real quick, and then we're going to end the video. Okay, so looking at, I'm going to close this out. Looking at Paperboy, we're at 108. We've got some retracement on the 1 hour and the 6 hour. Not too bad. Let's see what's going on in the channel. Okay, so here we go. We're going to go ahead and click start to verify, get the link, get in here, and they've got some pinned messages. Okay, Xbase. Okay, this is all in regards to their X channel. We've got trending. Okay, so 2 votes. So they're just looking for 2 votes, in order to go ahead and get community trending on that. So it looks like they've got some, activity going on from the community because the community's already voted 18 times. So that shows there is participation coming from the community, which is always an important, I think aspect of evaluation when you're looking at a token that you want to see that the community is involved. So that's helpful to see that. The dev holdings looks like they're locked till Christmas, so it's not a long lock, but at least I think for some people they can see that it provides, them with some, level of, confidence that the dev isn't going to go ahead and sell on them, so, and they're transparent in terms of, letting you know where those tokens are locked. Okay. So just locked up the remaining 70% of the dev tokens, so yeah, that's important, stuff I think in terms of evaluating, what you want to do in terms of any entry that you may take, pertaining to a token. So we're going to go back out. However, the one thing that we didn't see, like what the last buy was, on that. So hold on, let me go back in here, and I want to see when's the last buy. The last buy was at 11:19. That's about 6 minutes ago. So that's not terrible. Okay, so this is what we got going on the chart. Do I think at this level that there could be more sells coming? Possibly. But even when we look at the buy transactions, we're not looking at, anything that indicates a bunch of dumping, so it does look like that you've got a community that does look interested and invested, in the token, but that doesn't mean that more sells can't follow because, obviously you've had some periods of high sells here, here, as well. So just keep that in mind that there could be some sells coming, so what we'll do, we're definitely going to go ahead and set an alert from this one. Goes, I'll just keep it over. So this is at 108. So we'll make our note at 108K. All right. And so I want to see, this get to 125. All right. So we're going to set that alert, and then we're going to set one for going under, and we're going to say if we're at 108 right now, let's set it for, I don't know, 80K. All right. So, and we're going to make our note here again. Okay. So under, and there we go. So we're good to go. And that's going to do it for this particular, for day 5, of this series. You've already seen the parameters that we put in, for today, as far as the filters are concerned. If you want to go ahead and put in your own filters, maybe do something a little different, because we could continue to look at Dexscreener like all day for opportunities, but the whole point of doing this series is so that 1, you get comfortable putting your own parameters in, your own filters in. 2, you see that maybe you come across something, with the filters that I've put in that may be something that you're interested in taking a look at yourself, beyond the content of the video. So thank you again for your support, guys, for continuing to follow this particular series, and hopefully you guys are getting something out of it, as you continue to join me daily, as we navigate Dexscreener. Thanks so much for watching, you guys, and enjoy the rest of your day.